My deadbeat brother spent years partying while I transformed Dad's failing company into a $150 million empire. At the shareholders meeting, he had me fired and humiliated. I left quietly. When I was 24, my dad had a massive heart attack. He survived, but the doctors said no more stress. His construction company was drowning in debt, losing contracts left and right. My older brother Derek was 28 at the time, living in Miami, posting Instagram photos from clubs every weekend. Dad called both of us and said he needed help. I flew home the next day from my engineering job in Seattle. Derek said he'd come visit soon. That visit never happened. I started working 80-hour weeks, renegotiated vendor contracts, fired the deadweight employees, landed 3 major projects by underbidding competitors. Within 2 years, we were profitable again. Derek would call maybe twice a year, usually asking Dad for money. By year 5, I'd expanded into commercial real estate development. The company went from almost bankrupt to worth $45 million. Dad officially made me CEO and gave me 45% of the shares. He kept 45% for himself and gave Derek the remaining 10% because, well, he was still his son. Derek never attended a single board meeting, never asked about the business, just cashed his dividend checks twice a year. Those checks were getting pretty big too, around $200,000 annually for literally doing nothing. I didn't care. I was building something I was proud of. Last year, Dad's health got worse. The heart issues came back and he decided to retire completely. He split his 45% shares between me and Derek. Now I had 67.5% and Derek had 32.5%. Still the majority shareholder, still in complete control. Or so I thought. 3 months ago, Derek moved back home. Said he wanted to be closer to family, help with Dad. He started showing up to the office, sitting in on meetings, asking questions about projects. I thought maybe he'd finally grown up and wanted to be involved. I actually felt good about it. Having my brother back, working together like Dad always wanted. Last week was our quarterly shareholders meeting. All the board members, major investors, everyone important was there. I was presenting our expansion into the Texas market. $40 million project, biggest deal we'd ever done. Right in the middle of my presentation, Derek stood up. He said he'd been reviewing the company finances with some advisors and found serious concerns about my leadership. Said I was taking excessive risks, making reckless decisions, paying myself an inflated salary. Every single accusation was garbage. Our books were spotless, audited annually, completely transparent, but he prepared this whole presentation with charts and numbers taken completely out of context. Made it look like I was driving the company into the ground. The board members started whispering. I tried to defend myself, but Derek just kept talking over me. Then he dropped the bomb. He'd spent the last 3 months quietly buying up shares from smaller investors who got nervous about the Texas expansion. People who wanted to cash out. He'd borrowed millions to do it. Derek announced he now controlled 51% of the company. He had majority shareholder status. He called for an immediate vote to remove me as CEO. His new shares plus a few board members he'd gotten to, it passed. Just like that, I was out. 15 years of my life, building this company from nothing while he partied. And in 20 minutes, I lost everything. Derek smiled and said I could stay on as a consultant if I wanted. The room was dead silent. Everyone knew this was wrong. But business is business. I stood up, grabbed my laptop, and walked out without saying a word. Derek called after me saying we'd talk later, figure out a transition plan. I just kept walking. Here's what Derek didn't know. When I restructured the company 5 years ago, I created a separate LLC that held all our intellectual property, client contracts, and vendor relationships. That LLC wasn't part of the main company shares. I owned it 100% personally. Every single active project, every client relationship, every vendor contract, all tied to my LLC through licensing agreements. The main company Derek just took over was basically an empty shell without my LLC's cooperation. I got home and immediately sent termination notices for all licensing agreements. 30-day notice, exactly as the contract specified. Then I called our top 3 clients and explained the situation. They'd been working with me personally for over a decade. All 3 immediately signed new contracts with my LLC directly, cutting out the main company completely. By the end of the week, I'd launched my own construction firm. Took 15 of our best employees with me, all the major clients, and started operating independently. Derek's company still existed, but it had no projects, no clients, no relationships, just an office building and debt from all those shares he bought. He called me screaming, threatening to sue. I reminded him that everything I did was legally airtight, reviewed by lawyers years ago. He'd taken over a company. I'd taken the actual business. Last I heard, he's trying to sell his shares, but nobody's buying. The company he fired me from is worth basically nothing now. Dad called me last night, said he was proud of me for walking away with dignity, and for teaching Derek that stealing something doesn't mean you know how to run it.